And Russia's war chest depends heavily on energy, of course. Yet, the country now faces an unprecedented oil import ban by the European Union, with few exceptions. Hungary is one of them. Under Prime Minister Viktor Orbán, Hungary famously proclaimed itself an illiberal democracy, often at odds with its Western allies and at ease with Russia's Vladimir Putin. Now the country, which opposes further energy sanctions against Moscow, is set to move ahead with plans to expand a nuclear plant with the Russian government. Foreign Minister Péter Szijjártó joins me here in the studio. So we'll get to that a little bit in a moment. But first I want to ask you, because you're watching as a foreign minister of a neighbouring country, what do you think it means strategically that after now almost 5 months, Russia is consolidating its gains in the East and may just get more and more? How do you see the war ending?
Look, I'm representing a neighbouring country to Ukraine. And our assessment is that every minute spent with the war in Ukraine constitute a security hazard on Hungary. Because whenever you have a war in the neighborhood, you are under security threat as well. So if there's a country which is to 100% interested in a very, very quick conclusion of the war and peace to come back to our region as soon as possible, then this is us. So what we can do now is to hope and pray for the peace to come as soon as possible. Otherwise, Europe is going to face tremendous challenges. And, us in the neighborhood, being so close to the war, it's even more dangerous for us.
Can we just be clear? Your threat is from who? Do you feel threatened from Russia or from Ukraine? Who is the aggressor here?
There's a war in the neighborhood. It's obvious. I mean, we have condemned this war at the very beginning. We have condemned the military aggression against Ukraine at the very beginning. We are standing besides Ukraine, territorial integrity and sovereignty of the country. And we are faced with the direct impacts of the war. Number one, the refugee crisis. Up until now, 830,000 refugees have been received by Hungary, 830,000. And we see this number increasing very, very rapidly. So when I'm asked how quickly this whole thing can be concluded or come to an end, I would say that if I look at the number, the growing number of the refugees arriving to us on a daily basis, I think it's not gonna end too soon. Because if there was a hope that it's gonna end soon, then we would see a decreasing number of refugees. But this is not the case, unfortunately.
So let's talk about Putin's ability to keep waging this war. A lot of it depends on the money, and a lot of it depends on his economy and his ability to, pay for it. There is a big difference between what many European countries feel. You said you're close to the border. Well, you are. You're on the border,
we are on the
right?
border.
You're on the eastern side of the border. To the west, you have Poland, also on the border. You two have very different views of how to prosecute this. Both of you have lived under USSR domination. Both of you understand, but you have different ways of dealing it. Let me read the following from a Polish official, because you've been pretty much, I guess the kind thing would be to say, threading a very difficult needle, because you are still buying and you have been exempted from any of the sanctions on Russian oil, which we understand provides Putin with something like $800 million per day for his war chest.
But not us. No,
in
it's
general.
not Hungary. It's not Hungary.
But you're
we
part
are
of
just
it.
a very small portion.
But you're part of it. According to the FT, a Polish official has told reporters at a recent EU summit about your exemption. We cannot understand the logic of profiting from the war, profiting from the blood and sacrifice. You yourself have recently said Hungary's purchase of Russian energy is, quote, not a political statement. But how do you reconcile those two? And how do you reconcile the fact that you are contributing to Putin being able to prosecute this war?
We are not. And,
But why do you say that? Every dollar in his coffer goes to buying weapons, ammunition, and sustaining it.
We have a very, very small share when it comes to European purchase of Russian fossil fuel. And on the other hand, energy supply is a physical question. It's not philosophical, it's not political, it's not ideological. It's a physical question. Why we have asked for the exemption from the oil embargo was the fact that in case we had not asked for it, in case we had not got it, it would be physically impossible to supply the country with enough oil. It's a matter of mathematics. We have a certain amount of oil we need in order to operate the country. If The Russian deliveries are being phased out, no physical opportunity to replace it. And I tell you why, not for fun, not by choice. But geography has determined our house number. Geography has determined the infrastructure. In order to change the massive east to west delivery routes to north to south delivery routes in Central Europe, you need a couple of years, a lot of money. But what is even more important in this case, a couple of years, 5, 6, 7 years. So since it's a physical question, the question is whether you can replace Russian oil or Russian gas in order to operate your own country. Currently, the answer of ours is no. And the answer is not no because we don't want it. The answer is no because physically it's impossible. Physically it's impossible. And one thing we must not allow, I think. And this would be that we would force the Hungarian people to pay for the price of the war, because it is not the responsibility of the Hungarian people that the war has broken out. We did not want this war. We do not want this war, but we cannot solve it for tomorrow, and we cannot solve it to next year either, to replace the Russian energy supply by anything else.
So everybody is obviously facing the same issue, massive energy prices, massive inflation, food insecurity. But let's say we take you at your word, and the European Union has. They have exempted you in a couple of other questions.
Yeah.
But,
and other countries as well, so
that's
please
what
don't
I said.
forget.
And a couple of other countries is what I meant to say. But you have also gone the extra mile. You have said, no, we shouldn't have sanctions against Patriarch Kirill. He is the Russian patriarch of the Orthodox Church who supports Putin and the soldiers going to kill innocent Ukrainians. You've just said Russia is the aggressor. You have also decided to break with the rest of your European colleagues and your Americans and all the rest of it. You do not send weapons to Russia. This is what, and you know very well, but I think it's still a very poignant and direct message that President Zelenszkij sent to your Prime Minister, Viktor Orban, back in March. Listen to what he said.
I was on your shore. I saw this memorial, Shoes on the Danube Bank, about mass murders. I was with my family. Listen, Victor, do you know what's going on in Mariupol? Please, if you can, go to your shore. Look at those shoes, and you will see how mass killings can happen again.
So he's talking about a memorial site, and he's trying to say, listen, we're in distress right now. How come you're not going the extra mile? Of course, I meant sending, arms to Ukraine, not Russia. But how do you answer that kind of moral challenge?
Yeah, this is a very unfair statement, number one.
But why do you say that?
Because we are carrying out the biggest, largest humanitarian relief ever in the history of our country. I told you, we have received 830,000 refugees from Ukraine. We take good care of them. Tomorrow there will be another 13 to 15,000 because this is the trend. We will receive them as well. We will take good care of all of them. Whoever stays for a longer period of time, we offer a job. For the kids, we ensure schooling and kindergarten. And, we don't expect anyone to say thank you to the Hungarians. Why tens of thousands of Hungarians have joined their forces and work day by day in order to take care of these hundreds of thousands of poor Ukrainians who come to us. We don't expect them to say thank you. But one thing we do expect, not to provocate us, not to accuse us, not to say bad things on us just because we made one decision. And this decision is the following, that we do not take part in weapon deliveries. Why? Because we are a neighboring country. For us, the major goal is not to get involved into this war in any way. And you know that
who do you want to win?
Sorry?
Who do you want to win? Who should win?
Well, of course, the victim has to win. That's not a question.
So the victim needs help.
But all right. But we help them. We help them in the following way. Since we decided not to deliver weapons, the Hungarian-Ukrainian border offers the safest passage when you cross the Ukrainian border from the west, from their perspective. That's why International Red Cross operates its logistic hub from Hungary to organize their activities in Ukraine. Why? Because this is a safe border. Whenever humanitarian deliverers cross there, everybody can be sure it's not weapon, so these deliveries are not being in danger. Number two, sorry, just one more sentence if you don't mind. I'm not quite sure everybody is aware of the fact that there are 150,000 Hungarians living there in the western part of Ukraine. Now, it's obvious that in case we would deliver weapons, then these weapon deliveries would be, let's say, targets of Russians to shoot, right? Now we don't want them to shoot into areas where Hungarians are living, because once again, we would not like to be involved in this conflict. So we have to take into consideration the security of Hungary and the Hungarian people as well.
You've raised the issue of the refugees, and everybody is being very good. Millions of refugees are being accepted all around. But of course, that raises another question, because yes, Ukrainian white Christian refugees, again, highlights your issue with not allowing not so white, not so Christian refugees coming in from your southern border. And that is, I don't know what word to use, but let's just say ethnocentric, ethno-nationalist.
I think
how do you account for that difference?
It's an extremely important issue what you have raised, because I have been faced with this question many times. So thank you for raising it.
I've actually asked you.
Yeah, thank you very much for raising it. So we are under double pressure currently, we can say this, because we have these hundreds of thousands of refugees arriving from Ukraine, whom we definitely allow to come and take good care of them. But we keep our southern border very strong, which is our border to Serbia, external border of both European Union and the Schengen area. We have stopped 110,000 illegal migrants already this year. And this is the major difference. You have refugees and you have illegal migrants. And why I tell you these are illegal migrants? Because you have to look at international law. What does international law say? If you have to flee from war, like the poor Ukrainians currently, you are allowed to move to the first safe country. And there you can stay temporarily and then return whenever the war or whatever was the reason of you fleeing is over. Now, these people who appear at the southern border of ours cross at least 6, 7, 8 or even more safe countries. They have no reason to violate the border between Serbia and Hungary. They have no reason to violate the southern border of Serbia, because they are not coming from war, because there's no war in Serbia. And I have to tell you one thing. These people, these illegal migrants, are behaving more and more aggressively. They are carrying weapons. They are shooting at us, shooting at each other. They attack our policemen, throwing pieces of concrete, bottle, whatever, attacking our police. Why should we allow such kind of people to enter the territory of Hungary?
So
why should we allow them to violate our border? Because this is a border violation. The Ukrainians are not violating our border. They come, they ask for the opportunity, they come in, they cooperate with us because they have the right to do so, because there's a war in the neighborhood.
It just all fits the picture of what you call an illiberal democracy. So
Why?
let's just, well, it just does. I mean, it just does.
It's international law. It's international law.
Fine, but we've had these discussions many times before when they were actually fleeing war, and we saw that they were...
Yeah, but they're not coming from the neighborhood.
Fine, let's just carry on. The EU clearly has a slightly different view. They have held up some of the aid money to you for what they consider to be...
All of it.
Okay.
All of it.
And Poland as well. There's some. I mean, they're helping Poland a bit more now because Poland is playing ball on the Ukraine issue. But it's because they believe that many of your actions actually roll back European standards on democracy. So, gay rights. You know that you've banned adoption by same-sex couples, passed an anti-LGBT law banning homosexual and transsexual propaganda, etc., etc.
To children. To children. That's very, very important. We have banned this kind of propaganda to children because this is a law.
But you've still banned adoption and the rest. So
like other countries do it. Like other countries do it. So please do not highlight the thing as if we were the alone.
Not all other countries.
Yeah, but many of them. In Europe as well.
Russia.
No, but European Union also. I mean, we have a very clear-cut position of the Constitution. Yeah. Constitution says that in a family there must be a mother, a father, and children. Mother must be a man. Father must be a man. Mother must be a woman. This is what our Constitution says. We have to respect that. That's why adoption is not allowed to gay couples, but everything except for marriage is allowed for them. They can live in a registered partnership.
CPAC.
Yes.
In the United States Conservative Political Action Committee obviously believes that you are brothers in arms because they had their latest convention in Budapest, and I think that was, a couple of months ago. Prime Minister Orbán spoke there. The New Yorker, you're probably very familiar with it, you probably read the article, has dug deep and has done, a big sort of profile. The headline is, "Does Hungary offer a glimpse of our authoritarian future?" This is America speaking, details how some Republicans would like to replicate Orbán's model of illiberal democracy. Are you pleased, surprised? Is it the gathering of the sort of conservative masses? Where do you think your role is in bolstering America's deeply conservative wing that has now rolled back women's rights for the first time in American history, that has been rolling back voting rights, that has challenged the legitimate election of the current president of the United States. Why do you want to be involved in that?
Look, I'm coming from a Central European landlocked country with less than 10 million inhabitants. Now, compared to this, it's an honor that we are kind of highlighted as a country which can have an influence on the domestic political situation in the United States. We understand that in the US, they are being already in a campaign mode. They are preparing for the midterm. We understand that the Republicans are gaining, again, political support. We definitely do have a very, very strong cooperation with them. We are in direct consultation, continuous consultation with them. Just very recently about the global minimum tax, for example, which both of us oppose. I mean, the Republicans in the US and we in Hungary as well. So, I mean, we are honored if we are being seen like a country which can have an influence on domestic political situation in the US. We definitely cross fingers for the Republicans and we cooperate with them. That's obvious. You
see another great big superpower of a liberal democracy?
If the question was whether we cross fingers for the Republicans, we do.
Got it. I think you answered my question.
Thank you.
Foreign Minister Péter Szijjártó, thank you for joining us.